Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 231, recording on Sunday, April 27th, 2025. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And after a brief hiatus, we'll be talking about a bunch of new games, including Clair Obscur Expedition 33, yet another surprise potential Game of the Year candidate. Is it? Do we think so? We'll let you know. A surprise drop of Oblivion Remastered, Elder Scrolls 4, which we'll talk about, and a few other things. Before we get into that, let's talk Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders.
Oh, yeah.
That seemed to be the story of the week, the chaos that ensued. Did anyone successfully acquire a Switch 2 pre-order?
No.
I did, thankfully. I still don't believe that it's going to come through, but we'll see.
I did not get one. I think this is the first time I can remember being unsuccessful with a new system pre-order in recent years. And I did successfully acquire a camera and Pro controller.
Nice.
That I will not be able to use. But for all that talk of delaying the release to satisfy demand, something still seems off. I know in the United States it was just as bad as Canada. The general sentiment was it was a shit show again for pre-orders and was not well advertised or coordinated, and everyone seemed to be extremely frustrated with the process. Sean, you had a strange experience. What happened with you?
Yeah, well, so I tried Walmart at midnight, and it was gone like instantly, like so
15
fast.
seconds.
And
like,
I was like,
literally.
okay. I was like, okay, we're in trouble. So, looked up all the other retailers and when they were going live and tried to do each of them. Started with Best Buy, got in a queue, was waiting forever. Didn't seem like that was going to happen. Tried Amazon, which they had like a weird system where you had to be a Prime member and you had to ask to be invited or something. So it was like you couldn't get it unless you got an email saying you've now been invited to buy this.
So they're taking a vampire's approach. You have to be invited in before you can go.
So I tried, but never got an email for that. Staples had it, and their site was just crashing constantly. And so I was trying all these things.
Sounds about right for Staples.
Yes. I mean, the first few people who probably found out about Staples were very happy, and then immediately Red Flag Deals and all these sites were posting about it, and it was over. But after all that stuff, I went back to Best Buy, and I was through the queue, and I was able to add it to my cart. And the whole time I'm like, what is going on here? And then it just worked. So it was like an hour later that it finally kicked in. So I don't know if it took that long to work through the queue or what happened, but I guess I have one now.
Congratulations. I'm very happy for you. I successfully added many Switch 2s to a cart only to have the transaction not go through or tell me I was out of stock after the fact, which I wasn't surprised. I wasn't upset about that. It was a disaster and not as broken up about it as I thought I would be. Might end up going to a midnight launch or seeing what happens. I don't know, but I'll live. I'm not crushed. If it was PlayStation 5 COVID era, that could have broken me permanently. But a Switch 2, I'll make it through.
Yeah,
me too.
There's not even that many launch titles really, so I don't think anyone's in that big of a hurry. Yeah,
I'm excited for Mario Kart World Tour, but I got lots of stuff to play. I'm not concerned. Any other gaming news or gaming events in your lives that you need to share with the listeners?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, let's get into it. Let's talk about Clair Obscur Expedition 33, a game that we recognized in a brief Xbox showcase a couple years ago, and we saw it. There is something here. There is potential. I know I had it high on my most anticipated list from, I think, last year's Summer Game Fest. I was very impressed by the combat, and apparently the rest of the world caught up and saw what we saw. It's sitting at a 92 on Metacritic right now, I think, and
Yeah, I just checked. It's huge.
lots
It
of
has
praise.
dethroned Blueprints on Metacritic.
The highest rated game of the year so far, and also dropping on Game Pass. I think that's going to be part of today's conversation. A big recent few months for Game Pass, including this game. Oblivion dropped on Game Pass. Blueprints was on Game Pass. And we've got Doom and a lot of Xbox titles dropping on PlayStation, one of which I played a lot of this week. And lots of Xbox praise and goodwill coming their way. So definitely a positive month for Microsoft and Xbox fans. But let's get into Clair. What is it? Clair Obscur. It's a terrible name. Let's be honest. So I assume the idea is Clair Obscur is going to be a series, and this is one of the expeditions, Expedition 33, which, just a brief synopsis, every year this mythical person, the paintress, paints a new number, and anyone who's that age is killed and taken by the paintress. So kind of a Leftovers. What was that one TV show? The 4400 or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't that like Aliens or something?
I don't know. Wasn't that the premise of that show or something like that?
Yeah, I think you're right. They could get taken but come back later.
Yeah, but this is in a fantasy setting, and you're part of Expedition 33 to try to stop or figure out what's going on with this paintress. And clearly calling back or paying homage to classic JRPGs and action infused combat with dodges similar to Mario RPG, and what's the other? Those are probably the main ones. So Hawkeye, we're going to go to you. You are the RPG man and love these types of RPGs. So what were your initial thoughts on Clair Obscur Expedition?
Yeah. So I failed the first kind of super challenging fight they throw at you, and
The mime?
Pardon?
The mime in the courtyard?
No, it was the lady that
okay.
on
All
the
right.
dock. Yeah, Mael or something like that. I can't remember her name.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But I just find I could not time the dodges, though I was streaming it on my television, so I wasn't sure if it was
Like from your PC in your house or like Xbox Cloud Gaming?
No, just on like a Samsung TV in my living room with no, not on the PC, and
Like
not
through the
wired.
Xbox Cloud app kind of thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. Yeah, and so it was not wired, so it was over the Wi-Fi. So I wasn't sure if it was just my timing or if that fight was meant to be hard. But then when I went a little further and fought some more just kind of like regular battles, I was able to dodge pretty regularly. So I think it was just I was a rookie basically and just I didn't have the timing down. But overall, the battle mechanics kind of remind me of Citizens of Earth. If I'm being so bold, you attack to gain skill points, and then you use those skill points, and then you attack to replenish skill points. Very reminiscent of Citizens of Earth. I don't know if we stole that from somewhere else, but just saying. But I like that mechanic, that like tug of war, tug and pull. I don't know, whatever the saying is.
Push and pull?
Push and pull. Mechanic.
Give and take?
Yeah, give and take. There you go. I like it. I think it works well. I think a lot of the traditional RPG things are here, like status effects and weaknesses, strengths, and then the inventory management and all that stuff. So I'm not too far into the game. I'm maybe an hour and a half in, and I'm off to the first expedition, and in the beginning you could tell the world's a little odd. And then you kind of go off on the expedition, and boy, is it just like, what is going on in this place? There's like a lot of intrigue of the mystery of this expedition. And there's actually some pretty, strong themes right at the beginning about, basically like about suicide, and like the guy is kind of thinking about it. And I found that pretty, impactful right at the beginning. Like, holy smokes, this is no joke, this expedition here. And I thought the combat was fun. I thought the timing mechanics were okay. I didn't really get into parrying yet. I always suck at parrying, so I just been dodging a lot. And I like the aim mechanic that they have. So they have this thing in game where you can use some of your action points to aim towards enemy weak points, and you basically fire a gun. And I thought that's a pretty neat addition to the kind of like turn-based style of game. But
they got the memo that aiming and shooting is the best mechanic in game history. How can we put that into an RPG?
Yes. Yeah, I do find that the traversal is kind of not obvious all the time, especially when you have the grapple points and the ropes. Where there was a couple times where I got a prompt like use your grapple, and I had no idea where the grapple point was, and I just like hit the button and then I got flung up into the air. So some of the times the, I guess, framing of the action is a little off, which is a, it's a hard thing to do. So I'm not surprised. But the visual language, I started to learn about, the items and stuff on the ground with the little like glowing orb thing, which once you know what to look for, then that's a good visual language, and it definitely stands out amongst the rest of the environment. It's kind of nice to not have, just like a generic treasure box or something to go get that you might not be able to see. Yeah, I think that's probably my initial thoughts on it. Overall, liking it so far. I think the combat's pretty fun. I don't think I've really scratched the surface with it yet. I only have 2 characters. I don't know if you guys have more, but so far, so good.
Have you made it to the overworld map yet, either of you?
No, I have not.
I don't
Okay.
think so.
I'm on to the second area. So, Sean, you go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big JRPG guy, but I do like the Mario and Luigi games. So the more I was hearing that was, an influence for the combat, I was like, okay. And I think it's a bit of a shorter game too, from what I understand. Like not like 30 hours or something is what I was hearing, just for kind of the main story, which is reasonable, I guess, for this kind of game. But yeah, I'm liking it. I don't know. Like, I think the story is kind of what's hooking me. It's kind of a unique story. It's a bit of a, what's the word? It's just kind of a mashup of sci-fi and fantasy stuff, but it does feel pretty original. And a lot of the creature designs and stuff, from what I've seen so far, I really like. Things like the music and stuff like that isn't really my thing, but I feel like it feels like it's in the vein of like Final Fantasy or something like that. Like, it definitely, I could see some of those influences.
Yeah, there's a lot of like classical piano type motifs.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I agree that the combat, it's simple in theory, but it does seem more unpredictable than Mario and Luigi, like in terms of hitting those dodges and parries. Like, I was able to do it. I also failed at that fight on the dock. They don't let you redo that fight. It's just you lose and you continue.
You can redo it.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
I didn't.
You got to get a token to use on the vendors if you beat that character. You didn't get all the items from the prologue? Oh,
no,
definitely not.
Missable achievements for you guys.
Two tokens and 2 items, so I guess I missed at least one. But yeah, like again, it's just I think the more you do it, the more I assume you'll get to know the attack patterns of the different enemies and stuff, and that will be good. Traversal is fun. I agree with what you're saying, though, Huck. Like, sometimes it's hard to tell where you're going or what, where these grapple points are. It seems like you can kind of explore outside of, like, there's kind of usually a pretty easy to see main path of where you're heading, but then there's like bushes and trees, and you can kind of explore outside of that. But I don't know if there's a benefit to that. I was kind of like going off course a bit, and I was like, why am I doing this? I don't know. So haven't really quite got the feel of that yet, I guess, in terms of exploration and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess the story is really the thing that's kind of got me hooked right now. So I will probably keep playing. Although I've been saying that for like 5 or 6 games I've played over the past few months, and I keep getting pulled on to something else. So we'll see.
I guess just before Frank goes, I wanted to mention that I did think the tutorial area could have been done a little better, like the prologue, especially in that like really open area where they're putting the flower ceremony, like they're doing all the flower ceremony stuff, and there's so many people around, and there's like quite a few, it felt large kind of like areas to explore, and I just had no direction. I felt like I had no direction as to like where to really go. So I just kind of like kept running downhill and not really talking to anyone, and kind of assumed that if something needed to be found, they would put it right in front of my face. And, you know, I guess I found a couple things, but I definitely missed stuff, I'm sure. And same with the area you're talking about, Frank, like where you're about to leave on the expedition. I'm sure I missed stuff in there because I definitely did not talk to everyone. It's pretty, all the characters, like there are definitely characters that are highlighted for you with lighting that stand out in these tutorial areas. But a lot of the other characters are kind of in shadow or not really pronounced, and it didn't draw my eye necessarily. I think I missed probably a bunch of them. So I think it could have been done a little better, a little more like guidance to introduce you to the world and introduce you to the characters would have been a little nicer, I think. But overall, it wasn't too bad. I definitely feel like I missed stuff.
Just
You know-
like,
Go ahead,
just
Sean.
real quick, just like on that topic, the one thing that I do kind of like is it feels like they're not over explaining the world. You're kind of just, you're in this weird world and you're just kind of figuring everything out. I like that. I do agree in
Yes.
terms of game mechanics, there probably could have been a little more guidance, but like, I just like kind of discovering this weird world as it is.
I agree. Yeah.
So the price point is, well, it's on Game Pass, but it's $60 in Canada. I think it's $50 in the US for PlayStation. So I think it's very important to be clear that this is a AA game. And anyone who says anything other than that doesn't know what they're talking about. It's lacks polish in any way I would expect for a modern AAA game. Traversing initially, just kind of wonky collisions, lack of guidance. It's not unplayable by any means, but I want to make sure when you see 92s and best game of the year, I for a game like Blueprints, I don't think it matters. I think it plays the way it's intended to play as an indie game. Like having double the budget for Blueprints, I don't think would be a vastly different game. This game, if it had double the budget, it would be a much better game because you can tell it doesn't have the money to polish systems and elements that other games would have. And it's impeding my ability to enjoy the game. The game it reminds me the most of is Final Fantasy 16. Design-wise, it feels almost identical to me, other than one is real-time combat and one is turn-based combat. The level layouts and designs and going from area to area are very similar. And the way you, like, the amount of exploration you do for items and weapons and how they're given to you. And number one way it reminds me of Final Fantasy 16, cutscene bloat. Every one of these cutscenes starts with 10 seconds. I'm in the second area. You enter it. You start with a cutscene. It cuts to one character doing nothing, another character looking sad, back to the other character. I'm like, why do I need to see this? And then finally someone talks. It's clearly a way to make the game longer or be longer than it needs to be. And I just heard so much praise about the storytelling that this is, you know, next gen pinnacle RPG storytelling. And 2 or 3 hours in, 4 hours in, I firmly disagree. I don't think it's bad by any means. I think it's average RPG storytelling, what I expect from things like Final Fantasy 16 and Dragon Age. There might be cool ideas later in the game. It's still a little early. But the actual storytelling mechanics and systems are bloated and uninteresting. And I don't care. I do think the combat system is very good, and it's got a lot of nuance and subtlety that I'm still learning. So I don't think I can properly evaluate it yet. I have a few comments, but we'll get to that. But storytelling wise, I don't think there's anything truly special about it. The character designs are good, but what I would expect from a AA game. The enemy designs I like quite a bit. I think that's one of the strongest elements, including in the first area, there's this jar that you encounter, this strange creature. I don't know if you guys have gotten there yet. Like those types of elements, I think art direction wise are the strongest. The enemy designs and creatures are the best art aspects of the game. But it's so pretentious, the story. It's really getting on my nerves. And
Well, but it feels like that's just JRPG, right? Like all those games, from what I know, and I haven't played a ton of them, they're pretty slow paced. They're very overwrought, I would say, and like that's just the style, I think, isn't it?
the best recent ones I can think of, like Final Fantasy VII, the original, is not like that at all. I think it's pretty efficient storytelling, and same with Chrono Trigger. And which this is clearly playing homage, like it's borrowing from those games. And recent memory, Sea of Stars was faster storytelling and funnier and had a lot of the same ideas. So I don't know what it is with, this is a French developer, right?
I think
They're
so, yeah.
obsessed with saying the word fuck. I don't know what it is. Whether it's like those arcane games like Deathloop and the developers themselves, get over it. It's so obnoxious for
they
no
do
reason.
throw some merds in there too.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, the writing for some of these characters makes no sense to me. Something happens when they set up for the expedition, and all of a sudden, this guy is ready to call it quits. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Like, you're going to die anyway. The last thing you would do is call it quits in this scenario. You're already, removed from your home. You're basically destined to die anyway. Why wouldn't you at least try? I do not buy the character turns. I think it's kind of poorly written, to be honest, from a character motivation standpoint, and we'll see if it improves. But it feels like a game that everyone wants to like, which I understand. It's a new developer and that's making games at a reasonable price, but it's good. It is so far definitely not a Game of the Year candidate to me. Maybe with time and understanding the combat systems, which is 100% the strength, I will change my mind. But visually, I'm also I like the polish of the combat, which is what drew us to it initially, specifically cameras and zooms and effects. But this feels like a generic Unreal game to me visually. It's using base lighting systems and assets. It lacks an artistic flair, which I can at least respect from the standpoint of a developer that doesn't have a lot of money. You would obviously lean into those systems, but it has that generic Unreal look that I've talked about for decades, and that's not even a thing anymore. There's lots of games that are made in Unreal that look unique. So it's, my guess, a byproduct of having to use a lot of built-in systems for art, which is not bad, but it certainly doesn't look incredible. It looks very washed out, and I find landmarks and certain elements in the environment just blend in together. It feels kind of like a blah look to me when I'm playing. When I look at screenshots, I'm like, yeah, this looks amazing. But when I'm playing, it feels kind of hodgepodgey to me, and generic is the best word I can think for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of a bit where I was saying it's kind of this weird collision of sci-fi and fantasy tropes. I think in the visuals, it is that too. But
in terms of a AA aesthetic, the game it reminded me of a lot is Immortals of Avium, which was similar, made in Unreal, but I think its art style was a little more polished. Obviously not an RPG. It's like a first person kind of shooter magic RPG. But visually, they feel like they fit in the same space to me. And for whatever reason, people kind of didn't even give Immortals of Avium a chance, probably because it was published by EA. But they are working in a similar space to me and a level of quality. It sounds like I hate the game. I don't. I think it's a good game. I like it, but I'm kind of shocked by the level of praise the game is getting based on what I've played.
Well, here's a little thing, talking about polish. Now, I don't know if this was on the PlayStation version as well, or if I'm the only one who saw it or what, but the in the UI, there was, I think, a bug where anytime there's you hit a button to continue or to just okay, the button prompt would say discard. and it kept coming up, and I was like thinking like I was about to discard like a weapon or something. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that, but I have no other button I can press. And then I realized, oh wait, this is just a bug because it kept coming up. So
No, I didn't get that. I there's definitely a flair to the way and a branding to the way they phrase things. Like when you're done a battle, it says "we continue" rather than whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so it could be part of the general language aesthetic the game is trying to establish, which I don't mind. I like making the world feel unique and even how things are phrased a little different. But I still don't think a game has done real time combat and timing well yet. And it usually I get tired of it after a while. And two, like the timing on waiting for some of these enemies to attack takes so long. Like the lead up animation, and then other ones, it's like a millisecond and I don't even have time to react. Yeah. And it's so all over the place. And then conversely, when you're doing offensive attacks, there's an X prompt to do things that is clearly establishing timing windows. And it feels very inconsistent as to what the rules are for timing, to the point where I assume with most of these games, the dilemma the developers find themselves in is if you give feedback, it's too easy to do it and you can do perfect battles all the time. And the game almost becomes not a challenge. But this game, at least on the normal mid difficulty setting, which is what I assume we're all playing on, it feels like the battles are designed to be difficult and encourage you to be perfect, and you get rewards, kind of like Metaphor and Persona, for doing a perfect battle, and you get X for no damage and getting XP bonuses, which I like. So I don't know why they just didn't make the choice to be way more deliberate and open as to. I've had to wait like 6 seconds for an attack, and then you miss the first dodge, and then you get stuck, especially when enemies do like a combo attack. Then I get hit for 3 times and I'm dead. It's missing some balance in the combat. But
I was surprised just that maybe I'm wrong, but the main attack doesn't seem to have a timing based thing to it. It's only like the spells or whatever those
skills,
other things are. Yeah,
I agree. That's a little strange to me.
So the game, I don't know if you guys played this game, but on, I think it was PlayStation 2. Yeah, PlayStation 2. There was a game called Shadow Hearts. I don't know if you guys ever played this game. It's like a JRPG. And they had something called the Judgment Ring, which I think did this sort of like timing attack thing in a turn-based way the best. And basically it's just a circle. And then on the circle, it's like a clock face. So think of the hour hand starting at midnight. And then it just swings around back to midnight, like one full hour or day or whatever, day, I guess would be, or 12 hours. And then there are sections of the ring that are green and sections that are yellow or orange. And basically, if you hit in the orange, it's just like a fine attack. But if you hit in the green, it's like a critical hit. And as you upgrade your weapons, the locations of those wedge pieces for attacking shift and move and change in size. So a weapon determines where those are placed. So if you use the same sword, those pie chunks are in the same spot every time. So you could kind of become a master of that weapon. But then as you upgrade it, the size of those wedges adjust and move. So when you equip something new, you kind of have to relearn the timing sequence for it. And I thought that was a really clever way to keep it more engaged in like a turn-based way, whereas like in this game, I think you're right, Frank, like especially on the attacks where they throw it in and they seem to move the location of it around the world, and it comes up so quickly and then spins so fast that it's very difficult to, sometimes you got to be really paying attention to really know when to press it. So I think there are some improvements to be made in this area.
But I kind of like the speed of the offensive attacks when it's like, okay, I'm attacking XX, done. The enemies, I'm waiting for them for so long in some cases, and I assume there's some random variance on the timing of attacks so that you don't know the timing exactly. But I had the same problem with Sea of Stars, where certain attacks, I'm like, I don't even know when or how I'm supposed to block. The visual language for when to do that is extremely inconsistent.
Yeah. Did you notice there's like a little prompt at the top? Now, I don't know if it does it long term, but at the where I am, it still says like this enemy is attacking slow or this enemy is attacking fast. So you kind of have a initial prompt
Yeah.
of when to expect the attack to come.
Maybe I'm not like heeding that as advice as well and taking it for granted how enemies are attacking sometimes. But I, again, it sounds like I'm being overly negative. I do like it. It's not a criticism specific to this game in a way. It's like all games that do this type of combat suffer from something at some point. In Paper Mario, it's even the most basic attacks start to be so repetitive and boring to do over and over again. Same thing as Sea of Stars. With the bouncing attacks, I'm like hitting bounce and it's taking me a minute to do one attack. We need ways of accelerating these systems and shifting it up a bit to make it more interesting. So I don't know. It's good. I'm going to stick with it a little bit longer because it seems to be the game du jour and I am liking it. But I'm wondering if there's going to be a turning point where I understand the praise. And I mean, let's go there now. What is going on with video game criticism these days? Like, it's between this and Blueprints getting 92s on Metacritic. I'm not saying they're bad games. These are like insane numbers for games that have obvious flaws to me. For that, if these flaws were in any AAA EA game or Sony game, they would not be getting these review scores. And I look at the Metacritic reviewers, they're not major websites. Anyone can get on these things. These numbers, as their payola, they're whack. They do not make sense.
Well, I can understand Blueprints a little more just because, it is a unique concept. It feels like, the equivalent of like an art house film or whatever.
I agree.
Clair Obscur is AA, kind of aspiring to be AAA. And that's where it's like, okay, like, unless you're going to offer me something that's way different and way more unique, which, I think for me, the thing would be the story is kind of unique. But then you're comparing it directly with AAA games, and it does have, like you said, some polish issues. But I don't know. Again, like JRPGs are not my bag to begin with, so it's more like if people really love those, I guess people like Huck potentially. Like, is that totally in that wheelhouse? Is that what people are loving about it? Maybe.
Yeah, and I agree. I like that there's more space for AA games aspiring to be AAA, and we need more of that in the industry in general. But that doesn't mean I can say a game is better than it actually is. It feels like people want to do that. And, whatever, it doesn't really matter, but I would feel bad for someone seeing a 92 and like blind buying this thing. I don't care. I try everything. But a lot of people depend on review scores, and I think they're becoming more and more meaningless, where in the opposite, it was, or like 15 years ago, 7 isn't a bad game, where maybe you should try a 7 or an 8 game. There's underrated games, and people were too critical of games. We've shifted way too, in everything, movie criticism, television criticism. Everyone is so afraid to say anything bad about something that it's just praise. And it's really starting to affect review scores this year more than any year I can ever remember with these last 2 games we've talked about.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, we did have a bit of a discussion about Metacritic a while back, just in general. And it seemed like the feedback we got from listeners and stuff, it seemed like people were kind of like, why are you guys even talking about this? Nobody looks at Metacritic anymore. So that could be a factor too. Like they're just there, but like most people are just watching, a YouTuber or streamer that they like playing the game. And then they're like, okay, this game looks cool, I will buy it. Which maybe is the best way to do it. But
it is not the best way to do it at all.
You don't think?
Streamers get paid to play games. They overhype games that they're playing.
Well, you're actually seeing hours of gameplay. Like, you can't fake. If you like what you see in the gameplay, then you probably like the game, right? Like,
I would much rather depend on reviews and whatever time. Like, imagine evaluating a game by watching someone for 3 hours. I just want to know if I'll play for 3 hours and evaluate it. Thank you. I would depend on a review score to help me decide where I want to spend my time.
I still like reviews. Don't get me wrong. I'm not one of these guys watching YouTubers and streamers necessarily, but I could see why people prefer that.
And clearly that type of approach, which is probably just us getting old, is way more appropriate for multiplayer games and online persistent online games seems to be the base
There's a lot of
the
those games that come out and it's just like review in progress and they can't actually give it a score anyway.
Yeah. So and I still think the best gaming experiences for the most part are single player or meticulously designed games, not because they're weird or have physics bugs. I like good games, and it's getting hard to accurately consume reviews saying which are the good games. And there's no trusted reviewers anymore.
Well, and I just went back. I went on Metacritic back to like what was my 2001 to 2015, and I'm trying to find what games were rated 92. So there are a bunch of games above 92, but these are the ones that are 92 that stand out to me. God of War 3, Uncharted 3, Rock Band, Bloodborne, Eternal Darkness. Like, these are all classics, I would argue. Games that you could probably still pick up today and play. Now, is Blueprints and Clair Obscur in that echelon of game? I would argue no. And so there is some sort of like The Witcher 3. Yeah, I don't know. There's just like a Undertale, Super Mario Brothers Sunshine. Maybe that one's arguably a weaker one. But I mean, there are some real classic games in here at 92 that I would not think the games today are hitting.
And obviously those old reviews are compiled mostly from major websites that were reviewing games, right?
Yes.
Where today's
Journey.
scores are compiled from any outlet.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like a lot of really classic games here.
There are some requirements to get on Metacritic, I believe, but I know what you mean. Like there's a lot of smaller sites reporting on things, more niche stuff, and it's not like you just have a bunch of giant sites doing all the reviews anymore, which maybe is a good thing, but yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Like, to me, it's like I would be fine with a few individual people saying, hey, these games are like a 9 out of 10 for me. But it is interesting that that's the consensus, right? Like, that's what we're talking about here with Metacritic. So a little surprising, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with it. One more thing. There's a big event when you leave on the expedition. And if a twist is what I think it's going to be, I'm going to lose my mind. If it,
okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
You see a person, an older person.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Who that older person is?
Right. Yeah.
Do we have thoughts of who that older person is?
Oh.
I mean, yeah.
I do now that you're talking about it.
Which has been done in many. I have a feeling it's going to be a twist on that twist, but even then, I'm kind of guessing that it's a twist on that twist, which is not great.
Do we know if Robert Pattinson got any money for this? For being the likeness
great question.
For the main character?
I was thinking that also. The hair,
pretty iconic.
They're clearly using built-in hair systems, and it's not the end of the world. It's just this is the difference between AA and AAA. And as much as I say I want to embrace AA games, I clearly like the aesthetic of AAA games more. And it's getting hard to understand how they can compete. But I guess I'm glad that Unreal is helping to blur that line a bit with the quality of its tools. I just think this game could have benefited from a little more art direction in terms of color and not being as photorealistic in its art style.
Yeah, I guess the one thing, maybe like the argument for the AA side of it and what's unique about it, I do think maybe some of the weirdness of the game, and again, like I played like an hour and a bit, but like the weirdness of this game, I feel like if that was a AAA game, they would probably be kind of filing off those rough edges and saying, this can't be that weird or else it won't be a big hit. That would be...
I would strongly disagree. That one of the Game of the Year candidates from last year leaned into weirdness in a very similar way, which was Metaphor Refantasio. The enemy designs in that, which people loved, were 100% leaning into weird. Its storytelling and writing was the big turnoff for me. it's just an interesting game. I'm glad it's getting talked about a lot. I'm hoping I understand why it's a 92 if I keep playing. Blueprints, I did not get to that. I'm hoping that was an anomaly, and I can have faith in the Metacritic system once again. But based on the Metacritic score for Oblivion, I don't think I'm going to. All right, anything else to mention about Clair Obscur Expedition 33?
No.
Not at this time.
And two other small minor nitpicks for me. Obviously, no map within a level. It's not too bad because it's pretty linear, not the end of the world. You can kind of fast travel back to points. But once you fast travel into a map, like I went back and revisited the first area to get some stuff I missed. You cannot fast travel back out to the world map, which I just think is insane. To just teleport back out, I don't understand how that isn't an option. And it seems like a glaring omission to me. But I still have to run to the end of the level from the last checkpoint. Brutal.
That's what you get for trying to go for that plat. Just play the game, man. Just play the game.
I was also... I mean, I like understanding the exploration systems and how I should explore the game. That's what you're trying to find. When Sean goes backwards in a game every time, that's that, like, your first few levels, you're putting the game to the tests of what it allows for and what it doesn't, so that you know how to explore future levels. So I tend to really overdo it in early levels, so I know what type of exploration is rewarded versus what isn't. And anyway, that's why I went back. It wasn't just for trophies and achievements.
Also, Sean, don't let these guys beat you up. I do the same thing. They do the same thing. They're all liars. They all run backwards.
I do it too, for the record.
Okay, good. Okay.
We're developers, dude. We're putting the game to the test.
Through its paces. That's right.
Okay. All right. We'll see if we have any updated thoughts in the next few weeks on this game. Let's move on to Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remaster. This was kind of rumored and announced and dropped the same day on Game Pass as well as PlayStation systems. And I remember this is when I had first gotten into game development as a job. This game dropped, and I was like, oh, everyone is playing this and loves the series, and I got it. And I'm like, I don't get it. It's fine, but I definitely didn't understand it. Did you guys like the game originally, and how does it compare? The remaster compare for you?
I did not like it. I remember, I think I beat it, but I believe I beat it at like level 3. Because if I recall, in the original, I don't know if it's still the same with this one, but you wouldn't level up unless you went to sleep.
Correct.
So I just never slept. Okay. So I beat the game at like level 3. So you're fighting and all the monsters scale with you. So I'm fighting like level 3 monsters at the very end of the game. It was great. It's perfect.
I mean, I tried to sleep. I found a camp. This is in the remaster, and I fought all these enemies, and I'm trying to sleep, and it's like you can't sleep when there's enemies around you. I'm like, there's no enemies near me. I just want to sleep and level up. So some of that trademark Bethesda jank is still in there.
Well, I must say, I was just gonna say right away, the jank was present. I mean, I think in the first 5 minutes I saw Bethesda's jank all over this. I had rats bouncing around the hallways like they were bouncy balls, like right off the get-go.
So many stutters and loading issues all over the place for an old game. I was so excited to play an old RPG because they're so big now. I'm like, okay, this game felt big in 2006 or whenever it came out, and it's going to feel so small and accessible now that I was kind of excited for it. And I was liking it a lot more, but as soon as you kind of escape from the sewers, it was the same experience I had before where it's like, this world feels kind of empty. I don't really know what to do. And I'm picking things up and I don't know what I should pick up, how much, where to drop it, where to sell it. You can fast travel immediately, which is kind of interesting. And it feels more like a tech demo than a game to me. And I think that's what the appeal of it is to some people. Like, just teleport, do whatever you want, just have fun. Clearly, I'm incapable of having that. I need someone to tell me what to do. Sean, what are you thinking?
Well, so yeah, I didn't play, like, I think when it originally came out, I played basically through the sewers, and then I think as soon as it opened up, I was like done. I don't know if it was because the game intimidated me or I didn't like it or if I just got busy with something else. I don't remember. But I mean, I kind of was enjoying, like, I played basically to the end of the Patrick Stewart prologue, I guess. And I was enjoying it for the most part. I thought it looked pretty good. It felt, like what I remembered the original feeling like. So I kind of looked up a list of like changes and improvements, and there was a lot more there than I expected to see. So I guess some of the stuff is subtle and, maybe not stuff you would notice. But the one big thing that struck me is like within 5 minutes, I'm over encumbered. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it just, didn't take long at all. I'm already like, I'm just picking up a few things and I'm already like, oh, okay, now I got to go through my inventory and pick what to drop. And
that is the name of this game.
But,
over encumbered.
Just to add to that, I think my favorite thing about playing this old RPG in a remastered form is how quick and simple the menus are. I like bounce in. I'm like, do a couple quick things. It's very responsive. Dropping stuff is fast. I don't have to hold buttons and wait for things to load to preview on my character. It's just go, go. And that is the most refreshing thing about playing this old game.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say it did feel kind of refreshing in a way. And I do think, the intro of Oblivion is pretty good. Like, it kind of pulls you in, but
100%.
I just, I'm kind of like, I could see myself playing more of this. But then I'm like, I don't know, like, do I need to play this? I don't know. Like, I kind of want to go back and beat Skyrim first, maybe, because I got like probably halfway through that a few years back. And yeah, I don't know. That being said, like, out of all the new games that have come out recently, I was kind of feeling the itch to go back to this one more than the others. So I guess that's a good thing.
I mean, the ultimate tell is, would you rather play Avowed or this?
Yeah, that was kind of what I was like debating. Like, okay, well, if I'm going to play this, maybe I should just play Avowed. So maybe I'll do that. I don't know. But yeah,
I can tell you an example of something that I remember frustrating me when I played it, and I agree. Getting to the end of the sewers, it's one of the best game intros that I can remember. Like, the stakes are high. You have Patrick Stewart's voice. It's like one of the best intros ever. And then you exit the sewers, and the weirdest part to me is you're presented with a clear landmark in front of you. I can't remember the name of this thing. And if you go to it, it's like nothing. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I get lost in this place. Like, there's no mission or something you pick up associated with that area. It's just introducing you to this idea of aimless exploration. And it just is such a weird decision to me to have someone exit the sewers, look at this clear area that you're pulled to. Okay, I'm going to go explore here. And it feels so aimless when you get to it. And that's my biggest question mark is like, why do this? Or why not have the player pointing to that city you're supposed to go to give the seal to Joffrey or whoever, and have a few things on your peripheral of optional things you might want to do. It just points you in the opposite direction of your mission to something that is not a clearly defined objective. It's just strange to me. I mean, maybe that's the internal modus operandi of Bethesda, of like, oh, just explore, have fun. But I don't think it's great game design, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like I remember playing Morrowind and kind of being intrigued by feeling like you can do anything and go anywhere. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then you try a few things out and you just kind of bump up against the walls of what you can do. And you're like, I don't know. It's not as, like, I remember I climbing up a tower or something, and I think I had like throwing daggers or maybe a bow. and there was some guy walking by, and I just started shooting at him, and I thought, oh, I'll kill this guy and steal his stuff, and I'll be up here and he won't even see me. But then like he started just running around the bottom of the tower because he knew I was up there, and it was like, okay. And then as soon as I went down, he killed me because he knew. I don't know, it just felt like not realistic. And then like I remember like picking something up and like being like caught for stealing, and I didn't even realize I was stealing.
No,
Same thing happened to me this time, and I'm like, before it saved, I mean, I also died and lost about 15 minutes of progress. So word of warning, save very often. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going back to Clair Obscur. I got my taste. Kind of regret paying for that taste. At least it was only $60, and maybe I'll return, but kind of doubtful.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that it's on Game Pass. Like, that's kind of cool. I probably wouldn't have bought it.
Okay. Anything else to add for Oblivion?
No, I didn't even
Remastered?
get out of the sewers. I was kind of like, once I got over and encumbered for like the 8th time getting out of the sewers, I was like, I'm kind of good with this right now. So,
And that's, I
it
don't
was a
understand.
nice nostalgia trip.
When you leave the sewers, my inclination would be have like a roaming merchant or something right there so you can see what options there are for how to sell things and understand the nature of picking things up and the value of certain things. And it's just, I think it's genuinely bad game design, and I don't know how people didn't see it through then. It's weird to me how this Bethesda's gotten a free pass for so long.
It was a little bit of a different time though. Like giant open worlds that had this much depth were not really a thing as much as they are now. Like now they're everywhere. You don't have Assassin's Creed games back then. This was like the Assassin's Creed game.
I think Assassin's Creed came out the same year.
You think so? As Oblivion?
Yeah, Oblivion was
Oblivion's-
2007, I think. And I believe that was, Assassin's Creed also came out that year.
I mean, Morrowind before that was definitely pushing the
I never
boundaries at
played
the time.
Morrowind.
But yeah, it feels like they've just kind of been iterating on it and still not really fully. I don't know. I guess Skyrim maybe is where they kind of perfected it for the most part, but yeah, still
About a year and 8 months difference between Oblivion and Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
Okay, but I remember people loved this game back then, and I didn't understand it, and I thought it was just because I was very inexperienced with RPGs, and having had years of RPG experience and coming back to it, I still think I was right in 2006. Okay, Sean, you have beaten Blue Prince, as have I.
yes.
What are your thoughts after completing the game?
Well, I thought, I was hoping that I would kind of get past that next blocker and kind of feel like, okay, now I'm flowing with this game. I'm really seeing what's great about it, and kind of still felt like I was fighting with it through most of it. Like there's definitely, like as we've talked about, there's some permanent upgrades that help quite a bit. So I kind of was like setting my sight on doing those first. But like the problem with the whole game is just that anytime you kind of set a goal for yourself, the RNG is going to screw you, and you're not going to get to do the thing you want to do. And that's like, a lot of things I've read about the game. People are like, you just got to open yourself up to exploring, and like each run will bring what it brings. And it's like, yeah, but after a certain point, you're like, I just want to finish
Putting a
this.
West End hallway on a bedroom for the 300th time is not fun to me.
Yeah, exactly. Like I get that there, like that gameplay loop of like, drawing a random room and trying to get to the end and make sure you have all the different items you need. Like there is some fun there, but like there's just a lot of times when, like in particular as a puzzle game, I guess that's where it conflicts with itself, because you kind of maybe figure out, oh, this room connects to this room, and now I know what I need to do. But you can't do it in this run, so you got to wait for the next run, and then now you're not going to get that room again, and then you like, do you just keep resetting and trying that over and over again, or do you try and okay, maybe I'll go for this other objective on this run. Like it's kind of, that's where it gets frustrating. And even by the end of the game, like I basically had done everything and had to do one more run to finish it. And even that one more run took me like probably 8 tries to get everything to align the way I needed it to. So it's good. It's a cool idea. I don't know what you could do to improve it. Like I feel like there's some tweaks there. Like the
Just
balancing
accelerate the rate of room spawns,
but there's a lot of rooms too. That's part of the problem, is that there's just so many rooms that
and the rate which you need gets some of the ones you need is pretty low to start, and how often you get items in rooms could change everything.
yeah. Something I had read that some people were suggesting was like get rid of the step restriction, which I think early on I would agree with. That would have made things more fun for me, just because I want to be able to explore more and I don't want to feel like, okay, I can't waste any steps. You know what I mean? But by the end, that's not really a factor anymore once you have some of those upgrades. So it's not, that doesn't really solve it.
Yeah, I agree. Very cool idea. I beat it after we recorded the same night. If you're in the basement, do not give up. I thought I'd exhausted everything in the basement. You have not. That's all I'll say. And yeah, I liked it. I was like, oh, I'm going to keep going, try to unlock some other mysteries and things I haven't done yet. And I think some puzzle I read online what it takes to do something. I'm like, okay, I'm toast. I'm never going to do everything in this game. And I think I will never platinum Blueprints. I'm good with what I experienced.
I heard it's really difficult to platinum it.
Oh yeah.
Like a lot of the trophies are very, very challenging.
100%. And which is fine, but it's just not that much fun to get a little increment of progress once you've beaten the game. So moving on.
I went back and played it and did, maybe like 3 or 4 more runs after we talked last 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. And I did, I unlocked a couple of those permanent upgrades, and I was like, okay, it's like still a little intriguing, but I don't know if that like slow increment drip of like finding one little tiny thing drove me to go back anymore. I haven't gone back since, and I don't think I will. I'd much rather play, Clair Obscur or South of Midnight or something else that I should be playing instead of going back to that game at this point.
Yeah. I guess I'll say last week, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle released on PlayStation, and I bought it on PlayStation and started from the beginning again. Worth noting, you can tie it to your Xbox account, and if I had gotten every achievement on Xbox, they would have all auto popped when I linked my account. So any achievement I had gotten unlocked a trophy. And
so now, are you gonna start getting Game Pass again so that you can pre-play the PlayStation games to auto pop them when they come out on PlayStation? So you buy them and then your work here is done. You don't even have to play them. You just auto pop.
Yeah, I just wait until they're on sale on PlayStation.
Yeah, you literally just pay to pop.
Yeah, pay to pop. That's the way I live. But the good news is, when I linked it, I also, as I did everything on PlayStation, it unlocked my achievements on Xbox. So I'm juicing my end of year numbers for Xbox. I'm going to have 1,000 achievements. And I don't know if this is all games or if it's just this particular game that does that, but that was a pleasant surprise.
You know what your goal should be? Your goal should be some super high achievement score with 0 hours played.
Exactly. Exactly. And going through the game, I remember liking it, and I just, there was other end of year stuff I wanted to play, and I'm gonna do everything in this game. I'm kind of excited. And the first 2 large areas, the Vatican we talked about, and then you go to Egypt, and I was loving exploring. And for anyone who's starting with this game, my biggest piece of advice I can give you is do all of the mysteries and field work before you try to get other things, because there are pathways you cannot even unlock unless you do story elements. So I don't love that your advice to someone is don't explore a game about exploration. Do the story and then explore is the only way you can actually get everything on your map, which, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I think it's a bad thing to do design wise. But the first area, the Vatican, I think is too complicated. And if I was to guess, the Egypt level is so much more open and accessible. I would think there would be big battles internally. Like the Egypt level is clearly an introductory level compared to the Vatican, but the story required them to flip them. If I was the game director, I'd be like, we need to make Egypt the first level. It introduces all the systems to the player in a much more accessible way without getting lost in corridors and weird maps, which is not the strength of our game. But sorry, the story requires we go to the Vatican first. So that is my biggest design flaw with the game, even though I got used to it. Actually, it's not my biggest concern. But as I did these first two areas and was getting everything, really enjoying the story, I got to the third major area. Is it Sukhothai? I think so, yeah. And you could tell that they ran out of time and budget to finish this last area, because it is so much more draining to explore with the boat. The boat is not fun. You have to take a boat through areas, and it's not fun to use. They introduce new systems that are not explained very well and are very frustrating. There's a major boss section where it's kind of half stealth and half a boss battle, and it's not particularly well done. The user experience is confusing, and I got through it through trial and error and luck. The level design on some of the side quests is like horrendous. I had to look up how to do things online on YouTube, like how you escape or get out of certain areas. And if you look at the comments, everyone's like, thank God I was running around this area for an hour. And everyone is like, thank you. And everyone is looking this stuff up. That should not be happening in a game of this level. There's one part you have to climb a vine that you've never climbed the entire game. And it's so unobvious that you need to do that. So, not without its flaws. And after the first year, it's like, I'm going to regret not putting this on my game top 10 list last year. And by the time I did the third area, I'm like, it's good. Probably like an 8 for me overall. Enjoyed the game a lot, but I would probably be about 12th on my list of games of the year last year. And I think I preferred Crypt Custodian. That would have a better shot at my 10 spot than this did. But still, definitely worth checking out. And one of the better Indiana Jones stories, and it really lives up to that. There's a reveal story-wise towards the end that I thought was amazing, and like tying into classic Indiana Jones of religious themes and the best Indiana Jones stuff. I thought it crushed that. They incorporate a new character, the love interest slash she's another explorer looking for her sister that's part of the story. I thought it was kind of a disservice to that character, how bad the polish level of that character is. When you're doing stealth stuff, they're like completely janky, walking in front of enemies and punching out, like doing treadmilling punching actions on enemies. It just looks broken, and it was just not well done, and just a bad decision in my opinion. But looks great. And kind of a success, considering everyone's like, oh, they're going to do Indiana Jones in first person. Like this is a bad idea. This is not going to work. So I think they proved a lot of people wrong by successfully accomplishing that. And as much as we make fun of him, got to give credit to Troy Baker. He crushes being indie. It's very successful from that regard. So really enjoyed it, platinumed it, was ready to break it my virtual disc in half by the end, but the first 2/3 were incredible, and just kind of went off a cliff towards the end, but still wasn't horrible. Check it out now on pretty much everything.
I've seen some talk about sequel too, which I guess isn't that surprising.
Well, I think the DLC, isn't it Last Crusade DLC?
Oh, I didn't.
I think I heard that, and I'd be surprised if there's not Temple of Doom stuff. There's a part of the game where you go to Shanghai, and it's very short. And like, how much work went into making the models for this level for like a 25-minute, 40-minute area? I'm like, there's going to be Temple of Doom stuff, I think, would be my guess, to reuse those assets. But we shall see.
Cool.
All right. That's it for me, I think.
Yeah, I'm done.
I guess I have one other quick thing. Just a short little puzzle game that came out recently that I was playing called The Electrifying Incident. It's on Steam. A monster mini expedition. So this is sort of a spin-off, I guess, of Monsters Expedition, but it's it's $5 right now on Steam. I think it's like a couple hours long. I haven't beat it yet, but basically it's kind of a block moving puzzle game. But the thing is, you have this grappling hook thing, which can also twist. So it's kind of interesting. Like you reach out, grab a block, and then you kind of got to move it against something to like turn it left or right, so you can get around corners sometimes. I don't know. There's some cool stuff they do with it. So. I was enjoying it. I mean, it's nothing mind blowing, but just a nice short little indie puzzle game if you're interested.
Part of the Steam box pushing fest, which probably ends by the time you're listening to this.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay. Well, we talked about a lot of games. That was fun. Congratulations to Microsoft and Xbox with their big recent couple of months. Doom coming up. Next week. Any major releases? Not that I can think of.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a megaton between now and then. You can watch us at youtube.com/GameJunk. And you can give us a like, subscribe. If you have gamer friends, let them know where you get the real, hardcore, true opinions. That your mind isn't being poisoned by these bloated Metacritic reviews. You're going to get the truth from Game Junk. So thank you for listening or watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.